Hey everyone, it's Adam Mitchell here with Treasure Trading. We're back with another video. Today is a green day. It's a small green day, but that's better than being red. I was down on the day, $55 at one point, and I was able to work my way back to plus 16. And that's cool. That's about, a $70 swing. But man, it would be so great to make that $70 without taking these losses. I missed out on some trades due to some bad luck. I didn't take some good trades that I probably should have. And yeah, man, I just want to be able to just hit my profit target every day of $60 to $100. And it's just been a struggle to do that. And I'm ending the day up 16. It's just not really all that satisfying. But all right, let's get into the trades. So I traded 3 stocks: BCAN, PRPL, and SNTI. But yeah, let's get into my first trade. All right, so my first trade was on BCAN. So BCAN made this big rip pre-market. And for anyone that watches Warrior Trading, Ross Cameron with Warrior Trading, man, he made like almost $20,000 on this stock this morning. Man, it must be nice. It must be nice. But I decided to take a trade on it as it dipped down into this level here, and it wasn't exactly holding up. And I was like, man, this is probably just going to crack below this support level. So I'm just going to go ahead and get out. So I wound up getting out and I lost about $5. All right. So that's my first trade. And, we can see that it started making this crack down here too. But yeah, let's look for my next trade here. All right, so my next trade was on PRPL. Now, this is a trade that I missed some profit on. I took a good entry on it. I'm in with 215 shares at 376. We broke through this support level, and then we came down into the 200 moving average here. So I'm like, all right, this looks like a good place to buy. So I got in. And it started to go red on me, so I went ahead and sold it. And then it bounces back up, and then it really starts to turn around here. And now we're up at 381. And so right here on PRPL, it's kind of just bouncing around in this range here. And, this right here could have been a good place to get back in maybe. But yeah, I got in it back here and I sold it back here when really I probably should have held on to it and waited for it to really show me that it was failing and that it was not a good trade. That's something that I need to work on. Hopefully this week I can start to actually work on that. So right here, we can see that I put an order out to buy another 215 shares at this low right here. Because I was thinking, all right, we're trading in this range, and I would like to get in on another dip down into the lows here. But I didn't want to take a breakout on this because I was just like, man, if I try to take a long setup for a breakout, it's going to be a false breakout, because I'm still feeling not the greatest from last week. So I was, I guess I was just kind of hesitant on taking a breakout on it. But as we can see, it did break out. And, that breakout spot was about 381. And we popped up to 385, and I canceled my order. And, but we can see that it's holding up, and now we're approaching VWAP. And so we get the break of VWAP, which, this would have been a good trade. From right here at about 375 up to 385, with 200 shares, that's $20, that would have given me a third of my profit target. And so here we go again. I decided to put an order back out at the lows because I was hoping for a big pullback into this level and then a retest of VWAP and maybe a squeeze up through the highs. So right now we're kind of just hanging out in this range here. We've got this level, which is, really being respected, right? We we came up into it and then we broke out of it and now we're holding above it, you know, and I was considering getting an entry at about this level, but I'm like, no, man, let's just wait for the bigger dip. Let's wait for the bigger pullback, because what's going to happen is you're going to get in up here and then it's just going to flush. You know, that's what I was thinking, you know, so we kind of got a little bit of a crack below that level, but we're still holding up at that level at about 380. And now we can see there, we're coming up into VWAP again, right? So we're coming up into this VWAP level. We have this double top at 387 and then 388 was back here. You know, when it's within 1 penny, it's basically a double top still. So we basically have a triple top here, a flat top at 388. And we're still hanging out within this range, right? So we get another pullback into this level at 380. And I'm still considering, man, should I buy this level? Because we're holding up at this level. But of course, I'm thinking, man, as soon as I buy it, that's when it's going to just go, you know, big drop down. So we're still holding at this level. And then I'll press play right here just so we can see what happened. So we can see it starting to curl up again off of this level, which, you know, would have been a great place to get in. And now we got the breakup through VWAP, through 387, 388. And I'm just like, oh my God, right? And we came up into this level here and we backed off of it. Man, you know, I had a really good entry down here. And then there were some really good indicators as to where to be exiting and where to be re-entering, right? So we get the trade at the lows down here. We sell it up into VWAP, you know, but maybe we sell it up into this level and then buy back for the break. And then we take more profit up at VWAP. And then we buy back at the 380 level and then sell it if it breaks below it. And then, you know, maybe take profit into this level again. And, you know, we can see right here that I put an order out at 385 because what I was hoping to see was a dip into that level, you know, which was the 9 moving average in VWAP, you know, around the 385 level. We would have gotten a nice pullback and then a curl back to the upside. But let's see what happens. So, you know, we're having a hard time breaking that level, though. And I'm expecting a pullback, right? So we're still not breaking that level. Okay, so here we got somewhat of a dip and somewhat of a break, but it still didn't come into my entry at 386 is where I have my order placed. So there we go. So then we start to really break up, and now we're coming up in the high of day, you know, which is this candle here at 397. So I'm thinking, all right, maybe we'll get a pullback off of this level that I can get in on. So we did break up through high of day. We hit a high of, I think, 403 maybe. And now we're hanging out around 4. And I decided to put another order out at 389 because I'm thinking, all right, maybe we'll get a pullback into that level and then a rip up. All right, so we're getting a bit of a pullback down into the 395, 393 level. And I still have my order out here at 389. And as we can see, we're getting a nice bounce off of this level at 393. And then now we get an even bigger pullback here. And I still have my order out at 389, but we came down into 392. So we didn't quite pull back to where I wanted it to, but let's press play. So we got that pullback into the 9 moving average, which maybe that would have been a good place, but I was just so fearful of taking these higher dips. Like I was really expecting lower dips, but off of this level, we got a nice big rip. And so I just totally missed this one. You know, there were so many chances to get good entries and to take profit. I just didn't trade it well. And, you know, now we're all the way up here at 407, and I've missed the move on this. It's pretty frustrating. So I go ahead and cancel my order because I'm just like, man, so frustrating. All right, so let's see what I do next. Okay, so SNTI. So SNTI, I'm taking this dip into VWAP here, which I've said this before, but if I miss the first dip, because this was the better dip entry right here. And we got to move from about 333 up to about, 233 up to about 243. So that would have been a nice 10 cents, but we're not, we didn't squeeze any higher. Now we're pulling back, and now I'm getting an entry at that level with 200 shares. So I'm in with 200 shares at 237, and we're holding up. I have my order placed to sell at 232. Thinking about it, I just looked over at SNTI just now and saw the move that it made. And I'm pretty annoyed right now, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Okay, so SNTI, I have my order placed at 232 because the low of this candle right here was 233. Now, like I said just a few minutes ago, when it's within 1 penny, it's still considered the same price, I think. So maybe I should have set my order 2 cents below instead of only 1 cent below. Because what winds up happening is I wind up getting stopped out. So right there, it comes down and touches my order, and I got filled at 232. And then what happens is it makes a bit of a ramp up, but it didn't really make a big ramp up. Let's see what continues to happen on this. So it winds up making that bigger pullback. It makes this pullback into this trend line that I have drawn out, as well as the 200 moving average. So I'm like, all right, we have 2 levels of support down here. So I'm going to get in down here at these levels. So I got in with 200 shares at 225. And, here's the 5-minute chart. This is the trend line that I had drawn in here. And, pre-market, I was looking at getting in at this level because we have 3 levels of support here. And at the open, it really ripped off of these levels at around 215, 217. At the open, that would have been a decent place to buy because it had all this support. So it ramped up from 215, 217 to about 245, 247 maybe, which that's a really good move. That could have been some decent profit. This is, again, opportunity that I'm not capitalizing on, which could very well put me close to my profit target for the day. All right, so we're getting this bigger dip down into this trend line, and I'm like, okay, this is a good place to buy. So I bought 200 shares at 225, and we're not really making the squeeze up that I want. I switched back over to the 1 minute, and as we can see, I wound up selling it, I think pretty much break even. But let's see what I continue to do on that stock. So I wind up getting back in because it made a bounce off of this level at 225. It's holding up at this level here. So I'm like, oh, all right, it's holding up. I'm going to go ahead and get back in. So I got in with 200 shares at 225 again. And now I'm looking for this thing to really just make a squeeze up here. And I am happy with how I traded SNTI because I did take some good trades based on the way that I want to trade, which we're going to see. So let's see what it does here. I put an order out to take some profit. I'm remembering right now that I did sell this position early. So let's see here. When do I sell it? So there we go. So we're getting this pullback again into these lows, and I go ahead and sell it, which is not really the smartest thing to do because it's still trading within this range here, and it hasn't broken to the downside yet or to the upside really, which means I need to be buying at the lows of the range and selling at the top of the range, and then selling and then buying back in if it breaks above the range, which is something that I do wind up doing. But on this stock, I sold it, and let's see what happens. So fast forwarding here, look at what it does. it rips off of those levels, and now we're coming up into VWAP. And I'm just like, fuck, man. Why can't you just trade the way you want to trade? But, you know, I'm really trying not to beat myself up too much. I am prone to beating myself up just in general. And, you know, I'm working on that. And I'm working on just being as logical as I can be and making the best decisions that I can make, and not making decisions based off of emotion or fear or greed or whatever. You know, because logically, looking at this consolidation area, we came down into the lows here, we bounced up, and we're kind of just hanging out in this range, but we never really make a break to the downside. We had this very clear level of support that price is holding at. And so it makes a nice ramp up off that level. Now we're coming up into a profit-taking zone at VWAP. And then, of course, I get some FOMO, some revenge trading, and I take an aggressive trade. You know, this to me is a bit of an aggressive trade because it's made this move and I missed it, and now I'm expecting a bigger move, which that's pretty aggressive. I got in with 200 shares at 233, and we're not making that squeeze up. And in fact, it looks like we're about to make a curl to the downside again. And I wind up selling it because I'm like, man, this is a bad trade. I shouldn't have taken it. I missed the move. I missed the profit taking, and now I'm just buying it at a bad spot. So I should just wait for a better entry. So I sold it, and I'm down $17 on the stock right now. So fast forwarding here, now we're getting that dip off of these levels into a support level. And I'm like, okay, now this is a good place to be buying. I'm going to buy back in here, right? Because it's holding up. It's making higher lows. And I'm going to sell it if it breaks below this level, right? So I'm positioned well now. Now I have a good trade. And so I'm going to be looking for this thing to make a ramp up off of these levels. So we're holding up, you know, but we're not really making that squeeze yet. And, you know, right here, it's still kind of deciding what it wants to do. And right there, we start to get a ramp up. And I decided to go ahead and add another 100 shares because I'm like, okay, this thing's looking really good right now for a big squeeze. And I'm positioned well. I'm going to be cutting my loss if it breaks below this level. So I won't be losing that much. I might be losing maybe $10 to $15 if it breaks below that level. So I have a really good position right now. So we are coming up into this level. And as you can see, we have a double top right here. And I'm thinking, all right, I've got to be smart about this. I need to take profit at this level. And so that's what I wind up doing. I took profit at that level, and now I'm going to be buying back if it breaks that level. So we can see that I've got my order out here to buy back if it breaks this level. Now, this level was at 234. I don't want to be buying at 235 because, like I said before, it's just 1 penny, right? Because what we see a lot of is price will break by 1 penny to the upside or the downside, and then it'll just reverse. So I put my order out at 236. So I made back some of my losses on that trade. I think I made about $15 on that trade. And now I am looking for this thing to break to the upside because if it breaks this level, now we have a good shot of making it maybe up to this level here at 245, 250, you know, coming up into high of day here. So here we go. So we just broke that level, and I'm back in with 300 shares at 235, right? 235, 236. So I've got my sell order out here to sell at 245. That's where I'm looking to sell this thing, which will be a nice 10 cents, which will be 30 bucks of profit. So we're starting to inch our way up here. We're coming up into 239. 240, we're coming up into 240 here, and we're having a hard time breaking 240. And then off of that level, man, here, I'm going to press play on that for that for the drop off that level. So we're having a hard time breaking 240 and we're backing off of it. And I'm just like, oh man. So we get a pretty significant pullback, but it gets bought up. So I'm still holding this thing. But man, if it would have continued to flush, I mean, I would have lost maybe 30 bucks because now I would have been selling for the break between these lines right here. So I go ahead and I put my orders back out there at 245. And yeah, we can just watch this happen here. So there's the break of 240. So now we're at 243, 244, 245. There we go. I just sold half. And I just went ahead and sold the rest right there because we came up into high of day. And now we're backing off that level. So there we go. I took a good trade, and I mean, I took a good trade at this, or hold on, it was at this level. I sold it up into here, took profit, bought back, and then I got this squeeze up here. So I'm really happy with how I traded this move. Like, that's how I need to be trading. I'm not happy with how I traded it back here because there was profit to be made and there were indicators telling me that I should have still been in. I shouldn't have sold it yet. And so, yeah, let's see what I wind up doing again on the stock. I think I took one more trade on this. So right here, off of the highs here, we are getting a bigger pullback, right back down to 235 again. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get back in at this level. I got back in at 234, right, because that's this previous level of resistance. So now it's turning into support. And, you know, this is where I maybe, you know, left some money on the table here. You know, like I said earlier, you know, looking at this move that happened on SNTI, I mean, this was a good entry here, but I wound up selling it. So we got a bit of a bigger pullback, and, you know, this is a little bit tricky here because I don't really think I'm in a good position because we broke through this level and I decided to go ahead and add again. So I'm in with 300 shares again at 234. But we're holding up, and I'm looking for this thing to make a squeeze up over 234 again. And, you know, this is what the 5-minute chart looks like. And so let's see. So it's kind of squeezing up. I'm looking for this thing to squeeze up into high of day again. I was going to take profit again up into high of day. Like, that's what I wanted to see. But as we can see, I'm about to sell it. And there we go. I just sold it and I locked up $30. So I sold it at around 236, 237 maybe. Made like 2 cents a share. And so this was my last trade, I believe, was right here. Hold on, let's see if that was my last trade. Yeah, so that was my last trade. But let's see what it wound up doing. I'm going to pull the chart up here. So this is where I sold it, was in this level here. And it continues to hold up. And then, boom, we get this big rip up to 270. But then, of course, it gets hammered back down, right? But it's like there was profit to be made. I probably would have sold it into 250 if I decided to still hold it, or maybe even just 247 because that was the high of day, was 247. So that's probably where I would have sold it, which I would have made another 20 bucks on this thing. And that would have put me up, you know, maybe closer to 45, 50 bucks on this stock. But man, you know, this thing made a big rip up. I'm going to switch to the 1 minute. I mean, geez, look at this candle. This thing ramped up and got hammered back down. But yeah, I was in a good position on my last trade on it. I just didn't hold it. I just didn't see it through. So yeah, I mean, man, I see myself noticing more and more what I needed to do. And I'm going to keep trying to come in every single day and do it. You know, buying at the lows of a range where there's clearly levels of support, selling into resistance, you know, taking profit, buying back when it breaks, you know, cutting my losses where I'm supposed to instead of seeing it drop and then decide to sell. And then another thing is missing trades. Like, I need to stop missing trades. But yeah, you know, today was just another day. You know, I fought for my life, it seemed like, to end green. You know, I was down 55 at one point. You know, that was not fun. And yeah, so that's the video today. I'm glad I ended green, but it's still disappointing that I'm not hitting my profit target. And you know, last week on Monday, I had a small green day like this. I made 13 bucks. And today I'm up 16. And I'm really hoping that this week doesn't go the same way as last week went. I mean, I lost like 350 bucks last week, which was not fun, but you know, I oversized, I revenge traded. I just made a lot of mistakes that I shouldn't make, and I didn't trade well. But yeah, we'll see how this week goes, and hopefully I can end it green. And yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, thanks for watching the video, and please subscribe and please like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.